Good morning and welcome to Korea Today, live from Seoul.
More talks will follow as defense officials from Seoul and Washington wrap up their two-day meeting on security issues, including the possible delay of the U.S. handover of wartime operational control.
The two main rival parties are tangled up regarding the National Assembly's parliamentary probe into the nation's spy agency. More coming up in the headlines.
And a specialized job category that needs qualified workers. We'll tell you what that is on In Print.
And another country eager to get on the Korean wave, from Taekwondo to archaeology. We'll tell you which country that is.
And coming up, no male or female golfer has won all four legs of the modern slam, but Park In-bi has the opportunity and is the main contender at the British Open to make history. A trip to Daegu Island to visit a secret ocean passage, the Siwa Wetland Park, and a rock festival in full swing. We visit the site with traveler Johnny Bland on Korea Today on Thursday, August 1st, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
Good morning and welcome to Korea Today on this first day of August. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in. And we first turn our focus to Southern California at Glendale Central Park, where Glendale city officials remained resolute in their decision to unveil the first sex slave memorial statue on public property in the United States, despite the heavy opposition by Japanese nationalists.
That's right. And among the participants at the ceremony was 88-year-old Kim Bok-dong, who at the age of 14 was forced into sexual slavery during World War II. And she now travels across the world and tells the story of some 200,000 women. There she is, of the women who were also forced into sexual slavery from Korea, China, the Philippines, and other Asian countries. And she said that installing this monument is not the end of such efforts, but only the beginning.
And hundreds of people were in attendance, both supporters and opponents. And there was one Japanese-American skeptic who was quoted as saying that they were prostitutes instead of sex slaves, and this was during an interview. But it was Councilwoman Laura Friedman who had the final punchline when she said, "We stand on the side of history, we stand on the side of truth," at the pre-reception.
Truth prevails. All right, we'll get the show on the road with Na Hyung-kyung and the day's headlines.
South Korea and the U.S. wrapped up their two-day defense talks on Wednesday here in Seoul. The two countries evaluated the current security situation on the Korean Peninsula and have decided to continue working-level talks on possibly revising the transfer of wartime operational control. A South Korean government official reportedly said, given the increased nuclear and missile threats from North Korea, Seoul has fully explained its position to Washington on why it wants to revisit the existing transfer conditions. Although not spelled out, the talks are widely expected to focus on whether to delay the handover date for wartime control to Seoul. The two sides also discussed developing strategic deterrence plans against Pyongyang's nuclear and weapons of mass destruction programs. Korea and the U.S. will continue their working-level talks until the bilateral annual security consultative meeting scheduled for October. There's only about 2 weeks left until the parliamentary probe into whether the nation's spy agency meddled in last year's presidential election comes to an end, but the two main rival parties are still caught up in their differences, unable to agree on the list of witnesses. On Wednesday, the main opposition Democratic Party leader said his party is running out of patience.
We cannot tolerate the situation now that the ruling Saenuri Party has proved it has no desire whatsoever to reform the National Intelligence Service. The Democratic Party will take action with the public to restore democracy and reform the NIS.
Kim added the party will set up a special committee headquarters at the Seoul Plaza in protest of the situation, but the ruling party slammed the DP, saying its acts are intentional.
They're trying to break up the discussion since it's disadvantageous to them. This is a suicidal act by the DP, giving up the parliamentary probe by itself.
Opposition lawmakers will gather at the outdoor headquarters on Thursday and hold a general meeting. The Saenuri Party leadership will also discuss what to do next in their daily Supreme Council meeting on Thursday. Panama has postponed a UN inspection on the North Korean freighter Cheongcheongang that was seized for carrying undeclared military equipment last month. Citing Panamanian authorities, the Associated Press reports unloading the ship will take more time than previously expected. Panama's public security minister says 12 turbine engines from MiG fighter jets and 5 military vehicles were found, in addition to 2 MiG fuselages and 2 missile radar systems that were already discovered. The vessel was on its way to North Korea from Cuba. The Cuban government claims the obsolete weapons were being sent to Pyongyang for repairs and that they were set to return to Cuba. Once they arrive, UN experts will determine if North Korea's shipment violates UN sanctions. Japan's minor liberal Social Democratic Party has strongly criticized Deputy Prime Minister Taro Aso's recent reference to the Nazi regime and called on him to give up his parliamentary seat. Japan's Kyodo News reports the party also urged Aso to retract his remarks. During a lecture on Monday, Aso suggested Japan study how Weimar Germany's constitution was transformed into the Nazi regime, angering many neighboring countries, including South Korea. Earlier, Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga also urged the Deputy Prime Minister to explain why he made those comments.
And good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and kick off our look at today's front pages with 중앙일보. Let's go ahead and scoot on over there and take a look at the front page image. The title reads, 88-year-old former sex slave and the girl statue of peace meet in the United States. And it shows 88-year-old Kim Bok-dong 할머니, as she is known here in Korea, holding the hand of the said statue there. The girl statue was unveiled in Glendale Central Park on Tuesday local time, a perfect replica of the one that sits in front of the Japanese embassy here in Seoul. Kim Bok-dong, who flew in for the occasion, said she'd like to quickly see the day that Japan issues an official apology and reparations so she can live even just 1 month in peace. And our next newspaper, 동아일보, also has a similar image on its front page with a story beneath it titled "A Girl's Prayer Echoes in the U.S." This does mark the first time that the girl statue was erected outside of Korea, as you heard, despite widespread protests from nationalist Japanese in the form of hundreds of emails. The article includes interviews with attendees of Japanese descent who said that the Japanese government needs to sincerely apologize for its past deeds. Another said that a genuine apology would constitute fixing Japan's history textbooks. The girl statue was placed in front of the city's public library, gazing at Japan across the Pacific Ocean, as noted in the picture title. All right, we'll leave that there and head on over to Gyeongyang Shinmun now. Its main headline takes us to the political realm here in Korea, as the headline reads, "Reform National Intelligence Service with the people. The Democratic Party takes the fight outside." This is a story you already heard about earlier in the headlines. The newspaper says with this main opposition party's declaration, the parliamentary probe on the nation's spy agency is effectively kaput, as the ruling party responded by calling the move a suicidal act that gave up the bipartisan probe. All right, scooting on over to 조선일보 now. It has a business-related story as its top. Headline reads, "Search for software manpower takes companies as far as Bangladesh." Now, the problem that the newspaper is posing here is the sheer lack of qualified workers domestically in the software field, causing companies to turn to manpower in outside countries. And the included graph expresses this discrepancy. As you can see, the upward moving trending blue line shows the growing number of software-related jobs at Samsung Electronics at 36,000 as of April this year, whereas as university graduates leaving school with a software-related degree appears to be declining at 17,188 as of last year. The article does break this down even more by saying that nearly half of those jobs at Samsung, some 16,000, are filled with overseas workers from 61 different countries. The problem is not a unique one, as other large companies like Hyundai Motors and LG are in this same boat. Experts predict that the shortfall will only grow, anticipating a shortage of some 50,000 workers in the next 5 years. And finally, a look at our business newspapers for today. This is the headline we'll be taking a look at. It's a self-explanatory headline, failing grade on house poor countermeasures. And the so-called house poor, of course, are essentially those who overspent on home ownership and have a hard time meeting other financial obligations. It appears that the government's plans to rein in the empty, debt-riddling homes are not gaining the traction it had hoped for, as the figures alone trail terribly behind the set goals. For example, the number of people who have applied for preemptive restructuring on their mortgages stand at 50, which is very short to the 10,000 annually that the government had projected. Meanwhile, the front page image shows Deputy Prime Minister / Finance Minister Hyun Oh-seok piggybacking an investor during his first day of economic site tours, which launched yesterday, which also took him to the Saemangeum Reclamation Region, southwest of the country. Smiles all around.
Right, quite a sight there. Now, I remember President Park Geun-hye said that the government should give piggyback rides to these investors in the second half of this year, and look who took the advice quite literally, right?
Quite literally, right. And he also worked out, he said jokingly, that he worked out to do that, right?
Well, that is a great shot of the Deputy Prime Minister giving new definition to the term, put your back into it. And speaking of which, he needs to watch his back. You know, he might hurt it.
Right, he actually lifted the man up not just once, but twice. So go figure. And when the Prime Minister said that he was taking the President's advice, quite literally, the man said, well, in that case, I will have to lose some weight. So with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Thursday. Next up are your closing numbers from Wednesday's market action.
It's the first day of August, and the word is that we'll have the longest ever monsoon season until next week.
Just when you thought it was over. I'm so excited for that. But it's also going to be bring along the torrential heat, I would say. So let's get a look at the weather for today with Lee Dami joining us. Good morning, Dami.
Good morning, Dami.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm reporting live from Seongdo, Incheon. Now, we're starting the morning off at about 24 degrees Celsius. It is nice and refreshing, slightly humid, but still better than yesterday. As for the entire nation, starting this day off, the first day of August, it looks like we will be seeing clear conditions with just partly cloudy skies. However, there are some exceptions, like over in the coastal areas of Gangwon province and down in the south, some areas may be seeing signs of sporadic showers, so do keep that in mind. As for Seoul, we do have signs of rain tomorrow later in the afternoon. Meteorologists are predicting that Seoul will receive about 5 to 30 millimeters. As for the temperatures, Daegu, Jeju, and some parts of the North Gyeongsang province are still under heat wave warnings. So please keep yourselves hydrated and keep yourselves cool as well. Now today, most of the nation will look a bit hotter than yesterday. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers across the peninsula. Seoul and Daejeon are the same with highs at 32. Daegu will be scorching hot again at 34, while Gangneung looks the coolest at 26. And Jeju Island will peak up to 35 degrees. As for the monsoon season, some good news. It looks like we will see the last of it starting next Monday and Tuesday in the central regions. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'll be back in the latter half.
Last week, the country's financial regulator, the Financial Services Commission, announced that it will launch a new gold exchange in the first quarter of next year to allow gold spots to be traded in the public like listed stocks.
In the past year, gold prices have plummeted dramatically, and at the same time, it has set record one-day losses and panic sell-offs. But it seems that the gold prices have kind of gradually found more demand, slowly but surely. We'll have more on this.
A new method of gold trade will be introduced, making it possible to buy and sell the yellow metal just like stocks. This comes with the government's announcement last week confirming the opening of a gold exchange. Starting the first quarter of next year, a gold spot market will be added to the Korea Exchange, similar in operation to the existing stock market. Refiners, importers, as well as gold-related businesses and financial institutions will be admitted as trade members, while personal investors will be able to take part through investment traders.
During actual withdrawal, though, only 1 kilogram of gold may be taken out, as it's the official international standard. For the convenience of small investors, it's said that this precious metal will be traded below the 10-gram mark. For investors, the advantage is that they can trade at a nationally recognized gold price.
In order to vitalize the spot gold exchange, the government announced it will introduce and push through various support and funding plans.
For businesses participating in the gold exchange, the government will come up with various corporate tax and income tax deduction benefits to boost the new market. We will also be making adjustments to the value-added tax system.
This new plan is the government's way of combating the underground gold market. The precious metal was known to be widely used for tax evasions, and it's estimated that some 100 to 110 tons of gold, half of the annual trade, has been conducted illegally. Starting next year, retailers handling gold will have to issue cash receipts. Also, much stricter investigations into taxes and crackdowns on smuggling gold will take place. With this new measure, the government is trying to target the often cash-only gold refinery market. This is because trade procedures for imported gold used in gold banking and industrial refined gold are open and transparent.
For years, gold has been recognized as cashable assets, and that's why many in the upper class used it to pass on wealth in the family. But it's unclear whether opening a gold exchange will be able to bring this gold into the market.
The success of the gold exchange heavily relies on how many traders it can draw in. Despite the government offering various income tax and tariff deductions and benefits, the market reaction is not at all that positive.
Small and medium jewelry shop owners are worried they might lose their customers to the bigger markets. Also, many are questioning the government's claim that the underground gold market is responsible for some 300 billion won in illegal trade. I personally believe the black market will continue to exist.
As there is already an international gold exchange set up, realistically, it would be difficult to attract many foreign investors, so it will be crucial to bring in domestic investors. Also, it's important to let people know that gold-related investments are directly tied with the new gold exchange and try to boost sentiments in investing in the yellow metal.
Many are keeping a close eye on the results of the government's efforts to increase transparency in trade and establish a system of quality management in gold trade.
The The Korean wave continues to sweep the globe, and our Song Ji-sun, who just got back from a special trip, says Azerbaijan could be added to the list of countries that are charmed by the Korean wave. So Ji-sun, good morning. Do tell us about your trip.
Morning, Hyun-kyung. You know, it's been slightly over 20 years since Seoul and Baku tied diplomatic relations, but the interaction between the two countries is on a rise, especially since 2006, when late President Roh Moo-hyun paid a visit to the capital, and a year later, the president of Azerbaijan visited back to Korea. And of course, Korean businessmen are eyeing the oil-rich country with projects and, of course, the petroleum business. But Azerbaijans there are interested in Korean culture and learning from us. Let's take a look. Azerbaijan, a country bordered by the Caspian Sea to the east, Russia to the north, and Iran to the south, celebrated 2 decades of diplomatic ties with South Korea last year. Azerbaijan's economy is expanding at a remarkable pace, opening new business opportunities for Korean companies. And the exchange between the two countries is also on the rise in various aspects, including sports and culture. This summer, the city of Gabala, a mountainous city located 4 hours away from the capital of Baku, welcomed a handful of Korean artists for a special cultural performance. Opening the event was a traditional dance team from Gyeonggi University that translated Korean beauty into subtle yet eye-catching moves and stunned the audience with a traditional Korean fan dance.
Korea's traditional dance can be conceived as relatively static, with a lot of choreography expressed through the hands, so we try to portray as much movement as possible for the Azerbaijani audience, and I could feel their applause was from the heart.
Also on the program was a presentation by the World Taekwondo Federation demonstration team. A spectacle of movements, highlighted by a Gangnam-style finale, was more than enough to impress the spectators.
I'm a judo fighter, and I find Taekwondo interesting with its high kicks. And it's amazing to see these petite girls jumping so high and breaking those boards.
A Korean pianist was also invited to mark the beginning of Gabala's 5th International Music Festival.
We are delighted to have Korea's Taekwondo dance and music artists here to reaffirm the bond between the two countries. The Azerbaijani government is especially enthusiastic about expanding further exchanges with Korea.
In fact, there's a reason why the city of Gabala invited the Taekwondo masters here. Gabala is turning itself into a Taekwondo hub, attracting some 2,000 active Taekwondo practitioners in the nation. The city even has a sport hotel that caters to athletes and Azerbaijan's national team. And of course, the local children are the first to benefit from these facilities. Although they're mostly beginners, they dream of winning Azerbaijan's first Olympic gold medal in the sport.
I started Taekwondo 2 months ago. I like working out, and I think Taekwondo is good for my health.
I want to start by winning the European Championships, then the Worlds, and eventually the Olympics.
The country is already on its way to helping its aspiring athletes realize that dream. After holding the first World Para-Taekwondo Championships in 2009, Azerbaijan is also the host for the first European Games in 2015, where Taekwondo will be one of the sports on the event list.
Azerbaijan has well-equipped training facilities in the capital and around the nation that have even drawn the praise of IOC officials. I believe Azerbaijan will become a leading country for the sport in the region.
You know, when it comes to Taekwondo, Azerbaijan is definitely paying off, and they're climbing their ladder in the world class because they won the pass to Para-World Championships, which is for the athlete with physical difficulties. And actually, I was in one of the championships last year, and they were actually one of the teams that sent the biggest squad in the event as well.
I mean, it's always good to hear and see how well Taekwondo is being received overseas. But before the show, you also told me there was another area where the two countries are closely working together on.
Right, we've been talking about Azerbaijan's Taekwondo future and the past, but it's not just the past and the present they're focusing on. They're actually discovering the
past with Korea's archaeologists in one of the sites in Gabala. And actually, Korean archaeologists' skills and expertise is definitely working to help Azerbaijan discover its past. Let's take a look.
On the outskirts of modern-day Gabala sits the former capital site of Caucasian Albania, which dates back nearly 2,000 years. Excavation of its historic site was put on hold in 1990, but it was Korean archaeologists who resumed the undertaking some 19 years later under the initiative of the Azerbaijan Korean Cultural Exchange Association. Professor Kim Jong-il of Seoul National University has spent the past 5 years here at the Selbir site, finishing the excavation of this northern wall, a defensive fortress.
The Selbir site could be used as a very strong evidence, clear evidence, to prove the existence of the Caucasian Albanian countries and very developed urban way of life of the period.
This catacomb is another remarkable site the archaeologists are currently working on. The underground graveyard has been preserved in very fair condition, with passageways and chambers remaining almost intact. Every finding here, including buried human remains, has been preserved thanks to the Korean team's expertise.
Their experience is very important for us, and in this year was many interesting findings as catacombs, burials, and
dozens of Korean scholars are dispatched here at any given time, and even after they return to Korea, the work in Gabala will continue, further cementing the academic ties between the two countries.
So culture, sports, and even archaeology. I mean, it seems like it's fair to say that Azerbaijan is starting to build a really close ties with Korea.
Right, and that's possible because the Azerbaijan president and the ministers are very supportive in building and enhancing the relationship between the two countries. And in fact, they have a Korean Day in Azerbaijan, and vice versa. Here in Korea, have Azerbaijan Day, and we can also experience and see their culture here in Seoul as well.
Oh, I did not know that. Wow. And when you are interested in a country, the first thing you do is to learn their language. Are people of Azerbaijan interested in learning the Korean language?
Exactly. I mean, that was one of the point I was impressed the most, because one of the interpreters who helped our journey throughout this coverage was a Korean majoring college student, and his Korean was amazing. We didn't have any English or Azerbaijani interpreter, but who spoke Korean. And in fact, there are going to be a more development in Korean language education in Baku, because Baku's national and foreign language university has been selected as Haejong Hakdang here in South Korea's culture ministry, and that means they're going to have bigger support, and they're going to have guaranteed resources of the lectures as well, starting this year as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Jisung, for your report today, and welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. And still ahead on Korea Today, dubbed Queen of Serene, LPGA star Park In-bi tees off in the Women's British Open today, the fourth major tournament of the year. She's on a quest to make golf history as she eyes on winning 4 majors in one season, which would be the first ever. More about Park In-bi coming up in our program.
While you're watching Korea Today, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes it's hard not to because they're just full of creativity and charm. So I would just go to a bookstore and choose out the prettiest book that's there.
Exactly. Don't forget
the
about
most
those.
eye-catching.
So you look at the book and then you see the designs on it and how the title is written. But there was a time when the plain old paperback and the hardbacks used to just be plain, just like that. But now they're utilizing more designs to reflect the ideas of the author and much more. So now maybe the time has come where you can judge a book by its cover. We have more coming up.
A book cover is the face of the book. As a reader, the first thing you come across is the cover.
If I don't know what the book is about, I look at the cover, so an eye-catching one is definitely helpful.
If a writer comes out with a different book, I think an effective book cover design will encourage me to buy it.
This is why the design of the cover is so important. It leaves a first impression. With the electronic book market on a sharp rise, paperbacks are making it a priority to come up with attractive and smart book cover designs. A cover acts as the creative and descriptive face to highlight a book's unique storyline, and these designs retain the book's identity while bringing fresh looks to the reader. Publishers have created hardcovers, especially for popular books, and these changes have drawn attention from avid readers. This publishing company succeeded in differentiating itself from others by effectively redesigning original classic editions. It has become popular thanks to various cover designs it has launched. Many have praised the different designs it has for the translated version of the book.
When we're publishing translated books from all over the world, our cover designs are all different. We decided to come up with various looks as we realized readers will not purchase them if the books, even if they are bestsellers, look outdated or unfitting.
Cover designs have also undergone various looks depending on the editions and periods. There's a book that has received a lot of attention for changing its cover design when it went from hardcover to paperback. This series was selected as one of the best designed books, and many have shown interest in the book since readers can receive bookmarks with the same design as the cover. Also, another series was selected as a design to look out for this year, and it's fascinating how the writer's portrait has been displayed in all different angles.
This series is not your typical novel with a happy ending or a fantasy story. Instead, the plot can seem a bit dark and serious. But by featuring bright, approachable book cover designs, editors have given the new look a thumbs up for making the book a bit easier to access and purchase for readers.
A book cover design leaves a strong first impression, so it can also be a crucial message from the author. How about picking out some books with beautiful cover designs next time?
Still ahead on Korea Today, where nature and rock music come together, a trip to Ansan Daebu Island. From the beautiful oceanside scenery with amazing islands to rock festivals pumping full of energy, we'll take you there with Johnny on Travelers.
All right, well, swinging over to golf, the Women's British Open Championship kicks off today in St. Andrews, Scotland. And all eyes are on whether Korean golf sensation Park In-bi will make history by achieving the Women's Grand Slam.
All right, I like that, swinging on over to golf, right? And talking about swings, Park In-bi has a subtle yet almost near perfect swing, as many say. This competition is extremely important for Park In-bi, but many are also interested if she can actually really do that Grand Slam. But if she does win the British Masters this time around, she does complete the Grand Slam, but at the same time, there is one more major that she'll have a chance to win, and that is the Evian Masters. All right, we'll find out more about Park In-bi and what her strengths are.
South Korean professional golfer Park In-bi has become the center of attention in sports with her unstoppable victories this year. Park embarks on a new challenge today as she eyes a calendar Grand Slam at the Women's British Open. Can she rewrite the history of women's golf?
She can win it if she just plays her normal game without much pressure.
I think Park In-bi will mark her name in women's golf history.
Park first started her golf career thanks to her father. An impressive track record began back in 2004. Starting with her first U.S. Women's Junior Golf Tournament in 2004, Park swept 9 major victories in the Amateur League. Then in 2007, she entered the LPGA and tied for second spot at the Safeway Classic in her first season. Just a year later, in 2008, the South Korean golfer won the U.S. Women's Open, becoming the youngest player ever to win the title at the age of 19. Last year, Park scored 2 wins in a season, ranked first in prize money and scoring average. And in 2013, she has already swept 3 major tournaments, and thanks to these victories, Park In-bi is at number 1 in the LPGA since April. What's the secret behind her excellent performance? Park In-bi's unique swing has become famous with her major league wins. Her backswing doesn't go too far, and her wrist cock is almost non-existent.
Depending on who observes Park In-bi's swing, it could be judged either as a good one or poor one. Practically though, her swings are focused most on speed and load. That's why she can hit further with greater accuracy.
Let's compare Michelle Wee's swing, dubbed the classic standard, and that of Park In-bi's. Compared to Wee's stable back and down swings, Park's moves often go beyond the swing plane.
With Park's swing, the ball seems like it will go right, but thanks to a smooth swing connection, it goes straight instead of falling off to the right.
Many say that Park's greatest strength is her exquisite putting, as her putts are noted to be calm and consistent.
If we look at Park's stats and figures on the LPGA's website, there aren't many categories where she's number 1. But when it comes to putting, her average with 18 holes is 28.5. And every time she's up on the green, her putting is 1.7, putting her in number 1.
Despite her friendly appearance, the golfer is known for her absolute focus and calmness, helping her to perform to the best of her ability. Thanks to this, she's also called the silent assassin on the field.
In Korean, the word assassin gives off a very strong negative vibe, but in English, the silent assassin sounds very charismatic and surreal. I feel like a movie character, so I like it. I'll take this nickname as a sign of positive energy from my fans and will continue to do my best.
But she has gone through her own struggles. Although Park made a grand debut on the professional stage, she wasn't able to produce significant results for quite some time. For 3 years, starting in 2009, Park played in 57 LPGA games, but failed to win any and fell into a slump. With no success, there were times when Park wanted to quit golf altogether. But starting 2011, she was back on the grid.
Park In-bi is a very positive and optimistic player. She's able to quickly realize and forget her past mistakes and concentrate more to get her better results at the next hole. It's also great to see that she has her fiancé and swing coach, Nam Ki-hup, with her during practices to offer advice and support.
Park In-bi's success has become a source of hope for those wishing to make it onto the global stage.
I want to learn her high concentration skills.
I want to become good at putter like Park In-bi.
This year's Women's British Open will be held at St Andrews in Scotland. The golfer has expressed her confidence in the game.
I'm thinking the winds are stronger due to the low trajectory, but I've done well even on windy days, and I'm used to the bad weather, especially during British Opens. Despite such circumstances, I've done well in these games, so I'm confident I'll do fine again this time.
All eyes will be on Park In-bi to see whether she will be able to grab her 4th major win and rewrite golf history with an LPGA Grand Slam.
And 2:30 this afternoon Korean time is when the LPGA's British Open will tee off at St Andrews in Fife, Scotland. And you know, ever since Park In-bi won the U.S. Open a month ago, the anticipation for this has been like no other LPGA event before. Of course, if Park In-bi wins, as everyone knows, she will become the only golfer ever to win the first 4 majors of an LPGA season. Now, she spent the day yesterday practicing on the very difficult course, and though there was a media horde following her around everywhere, she's taken the spotlight in stride.
You know, my emotions doesn't express so much on my face. Yeah, that's just how I've played golf, and it's been working, really good on the golf course. So I think I found myself, I figured that it was gonna be, very good on the golf course. So that's why, I think I'm.
Now, despite putting the best numbers up on tour last year, Paginbi hadn't received this much media attention until winning the U.S. Open. Now, being at the center of attention, she has been leaning on sports psychologist Dr. Jo Soo-hyung more than ever.
She makes me a happier person on the golf course and outside the golf course. And she teaches me how to handle the pressure on the golf course and how to enjoy the game of golf.
Early forecasts predict the conditions to be favorable for golfers teeing off earlier than later. And auspiciously, Paginbi will be teeing off just a half hour after the first group, along with England's Jodie Ewart-Shadoff and Beatrice Ricari of Spain. And she will be teeing off 3:03 to be exact Korean time if you want to check that out this afternoon. Let's talk some baseball. Samsung has been on a tear as of late. They've won 9 of their last 11 games in the KBO going into their contest last night against Kia. The Lions were looking to make it 2 in a row against the Tigers. So let's go and see what happened in Gwangju with the Lions and Tigers and bats. Oh my! Samsung down 4-2 in the 6th when Chen Tae-in launches a 3-run homer to center. That puts Samsung ahead 5-4. That's the 7th of the season for Chen. Now, the Lions would actually rally for 10 runs in the 6th. 2 of those were courtesy Choi Hyung-woo. Now, he actually pops this up with runners on second and third, but there's 2 outs, so the runners are going, and shortstop Kim Sun-bin drops the ball. If you score 10 runs in an inning, there's always a play like that somewhere in there. The Lions beat the Tigers 16-4. Next in Hanwha, Park Byung-oh with a single in the first to drive in the game's first run. 1-0 next in as Chang Gi-young scores. Now, Park Byung-oh wouldn't finish there. The hero of all heroes smacks his league-leading 22nd home run, a 2-run shot for his 71st and 72nd RBIs of the season, also league highs. Nexon end up beating the Eagles 5-2 for the win. Now, the Bears, oh my, were taking on the Giants, and Phi Phi Pho Phum says, Yangi G, baby. His 6th home run of the year. That makes it 2-0 for Tucson. And these guys are on a roll. In the 8th, Yangi G would do it again. Not a home run this time, but hey, it is a double to left, which scores 2 more runs. That's all part of a 5-run 8th for Tucson, and it allows the Bears to crush the Giants 9-1. NC at SK, and NC up 2-0 in the 7th. No Jin Hyuk adds some insurance. Just his 2nd home run of the year. It's a solo shot, but it's good enough for a 3-0 lead as NC would move on ahead. That was more than enough offense for Lee Jae-hyuk. He was not holding back any of the good stuff. Gets Chejung swinging. And then how about Park Jung-won looking at strike 3, and Han Dong-min swinging as well as he strikes out the side in the 7th. Lee Jae-hyuk would go the distance as he gets Park Jung-won to foul out to end the game. He struck out 12 in a 2-hit shutout while walking just 3 batters. That is his 6th win, and it lowers its ERA to 2.96 on the season. Over in Japan, Lee Dae-ho is starting to heat up once again after collecting a pair of hits yesterday against the SoftBank Hawks. The big beef was 2 for 3 with the only RBI for Oryx as they fell 3-1 to SoftBank. Lee Dae-ho raising his average to 324 with the 2 hits, and that was his 31st multi-hit game of the season. To soccer, K-League saw a full slate of games yesterday, including a fast-surging Seoul team looking for their 4th straight win as they hosted Jeju United. Let's go pick up that game in Sangam, Seoul, as we go to the 70th minute, and Adelson scoring the lone game, the game's lone goal as Seoul hang on to win it 1-0. Seoul had a 1-point lead on Jeju for 6th. That has now been extended to a 4-point lead. Now let's take a look at Gangwon at Pohang, and it was a field day for the Steelers who were playing at home. Park Sung-ho hits the post and then heads in his own rebound. That makes it 1-0 for the Steelers in the 22nd minute. Now, just 4 minutes later, Cho Chan-ho pick in the corner with the shot. A very unselfish play to get him a ball there. That makes it 2-0 for the Steelers. And then second half, Cho Chan-ho probably doesn't have to tap that in, but better safe than sorry as he takes a goal away, I guess you could say. But that's a second of the game. You know what? In the 78th minute, it would be Cho Chan-ho again, right place at the right time, tapping in the goal to complete the hat trick. Now that puts him in a tie for 4th in goals with 9 on the season. More importantly, it keeps Pohang on pace with first place Ulsan. And speaking of Ulsan, they were 3-1 winners over Gyeongnam. Jeonbuk beat Daegu 1-0. Incheon defeated Daejeon 1-0 as well. Suwon topped Busan 2-0, and it was Cheonnam edging Seongnam 2-1. And that is your look at sports. Remember to eat healthy and get some exercise today.
Let's now go back to our Dami, who's joining us from a water park, right?
Yes, she's at a water park, and she is in the water, from my understanding, doing a live report. We'll take it over to Tommy right now. Tommy.
Waist deep and having fun, right? Back to you, Dami.
Okay, I'm reporting live back from Songdo Convention, Incheon's International Convention Center. And of the many exhibits, I'm at the outdoor exhibit where they're holding the Tree Frog Water Park Festival. And I'm kind of just already warming myself up, escaping from the humidity. Now, here at the festival, there are lots of different festivities that you can enjoy. And I'm not talking about only kiddie pools, okay? I'm talking about lots of different water slides. Also, there's this barrel that we see here that's gathering water, and what it does, it releases water bombs. So hopefully we'll be able to catch a glimpse of that as long as it kind of gathers a lot of water. Now, here at the park, the festival is open until August 25th. They're open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on weekends, they extend their hours to 7 p.m. Woo! There it goes. That's the water ball. Okay, be careful there. Now, what's great is that for parents, I know that when you supervise your kids out in the sun all day long, you can get really tired. Well, here they provide tents. You can borrow tents, place them around the pools, and then you can supervise your kids all day under the shade. Also, for safety, you don't have to worry about it because you can borrow life vests, also swimming tubes, and there is a medical room on the side just in case for emergencies. As for entry fees, they're 15,000 won for children and adults. There are some exceptions. You can always find more information on their website. All right, enough said. What I'm gonna do is enjoy myself on this dolphin slider right here. Pink is my favorite color, so I'm gonna go ahead and go up and go down. I'll see everyone tomorrow. I'm Lee Dami, Korea Today. All right.
The one and only person at the water park enjoying herself.
Well, that's because it's 7:48 a.m. You know, Dami has it good because she gets to beat the crowd, beat the rush, and just have all those rides and everything to herself. Now, you can beat the heat these days. It is the heat. It is the peak of the hottest of the summer season. You can do that. You can go to a pool, or you can do what Tommy's doing, taking a dip. But there's other ways, such as rock festivals, which are opening up all over the country.
That's right. And the first to start us off is the Ansan Valley Rock Festival in Daegu Island. And we're going to follow our reporter Johnny Bland. But trust me, there's nothing bland about his journey. So let's go.
Today, we're headed to Daebu-do in Ansan, Gyeonggi Province, about an hour away from Seoul. There is a lot to see, enjoy, and eat here, including the Daebu-Haeso Road dotted along the shoreline, horse riding, mud flats, and the region's famous bay salt and grapes. Today, I'll go around the area with a bicycle, as it's easily accessible with numerous bike rental systems in Ansan for anyone to use. Here we can rent a bicycle for 2 hours. For 2 hours, it's 1,000 won. And so if we just go here, we can rent one of these bicycles. My Daebu-do bike tour starts now. There's something very special touring around Daebu-do and enjoying its crisp, cool air on a bike instead of a car. While traveling around the beautiful island, I arrived at the country's first large man-made lake, the Siwa Lake. This is Siwa-ho. From what I understand, it used to be an open ocean, and then it was closed off to make kind of a lake. So across you can see the city. The Siwa Lake is known to house many eco plants and animals, especially large crowds of migratory birds, so I decided to capture this breathtaking view on camera. My next stop was the Tando Port, recognized as one of the best spots on the West Sea to catch a glimpse of the beautiful sunset. Here, the ocean ground that connects to the nearby new island is spotted twice daily during low tide, and visitors can walk on it. It's fun to spot rampant marine life like the short-necked clams, mud skippers, and Japanese ghost crabs while walking on the mud flat to New Island. 어머니, 지금 뭐 찾으세요?
바지락.
바지? 그건 뭐예요?
칼국수에 넣어 먹는 조개.
조개. The sight of children running along and having fun on clean mudflat is unforgettable. New Island is but a short, nice walk away. Here, there's a 100-meter high wind generator and a lighthouse observatory where visitors can scan the spectacular ocean view. There's a road that we walked up on. It seems so small and far away. Until now, we've enjoyed the captivating sights on the island. Now it's time for some awesome rock festival where nothing but fun, music, and young energy lives on. So we finally arrived at the Ansan Valley Rock Festival. There's music playing in the background, and some bands will be starting shortly. I'm really excited. I've been wanting to come to this for a while now, and so I'm finally here, and I can't wait to see some bands. So let's go check it out. Ansan Valley Rock Festival, along with the Incheon Pinoport Rock Festival and Busan International Rock Festival, is recognized as one of the 3 major rock shows in Korea. This year's the 5th show, and the tight lineup, including British pop legend The Cure, Nell, and Park Jong-hyun, rowdied up the crowd. The festivals here in Korea and the ones that I've been to in America aren't very different. The only thing, I've never been to a festival where there was camping. And here, it's 3 days long, so they have a place for people to camp out. The festival was not only enjoyable because of the spectacular performances by the West Sea, but also since the area was filled with great facilities such as campsites, pool, and a disco stage. So it's been really good, really fun watching the different bands, different styles of music. As you can see, it's raining, but that's not going to stop the music or stop us from having fun. So we're going to keep watching.
This is not what you expect from a rock festival. Wow,
You
very
want some of that
interesting.
jumping around,
Or
right?
headbanging, you
Yeah,
know.
that's so. I mean, you can beat the heat with that. Just sweat it out with a beer in hand. And what better way is there than to spend the hot summer days and nights?
Exactly, and we have a series of rock festivals coming our way. We have the Busan International Rock Festival, we have Jisan Valley Rock Festival, and we have Incheon Penaport Festival coming up. So more excuses for us to just not work and have fun, right?
You're a rock expert there. All right.
You go for several days on those festivals, and I guarantee you'll be hooked with Korea. And speaking of the heat, there is a high heat advisory and a warning that is to be announced later on, so check the forecast for that.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
All right, we'll see you back here tomorrow on Friday at 7 a.m.